All
All
right.
right,
How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good. Thanks for willing to do this.
Yeah, absolutely.
You've
Looking
been
forward
to,
to it.
what were you going to say?
I said, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, I didn't have a chance to see what all you do exactly, but
Okay. I know you've been up to Minneapolis for cons a lot, haven't you?
uh, 4 years ago, I went to the same convention and I met you at in Minneapolis in 2018, and then four
Okay.
years later, I was up there. Yeah,
Yeah.
so just twice.
Okay.
I've been there once before, but it wasn't for an anime convention. But
Hmm.
Halloween, there was snow everywhere.
Yeah.
Do you,
Yeah.
do you live up there?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh wow. Well, I don't know how you guys do it.
Yeah.
It's beautiful up there though, and the soil's nice, and you guys have really cool, a lot of beautiful lakes and
Yeah.
festivals, and yeah, it's beautiful up there.
Also, I can just try and focus more on things that you hadn't talked about as much.
Okay, sure.
So the first thing I can start with, what was the band Lindy and the Look?
Lindy and the Look. Oh yeah, that was a band that I actually bless. Rest in peace, Lindy. He just passed away a couple weeks ago. It was actually a band that I auditioned for in college. I was only about 18, and I had was in my own band that was started by a couple guys I met through a fraternity. And Lindy lived across the street in Denton. Went to University of North Texas, north of where I'm at now, near Dallas Fort Worth, and I auditioned for that band and instantly joined that band. And then that band's manager and agent immediately scooped me up and had me audition for Vance and the Valiants, which was a show band as well that was already well on their way, traveling, touring since 71. And this was 91, 90. And I was on the road within a week from that. Yeah, I couldn't turn it down. I mean, as much as I wanted to finish college and have a degree and all that stuff, I had to pursue my dream of singing and performing live and traveling. And it was, wow, a whole new world. I learned so much from doing that. I ended up staying with that band like almost 20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And if you could pick a single one, do you still think that Donna Summer is your biggest vocal inspiration?
absolutely. Yeah. Age 3 or 4, I heard her voice and I was hooked. I was like, I want to be a singer and I want to sound like her. So yeah, I mimicked every nuance of her voice
Hmm.
from a young child. So absolutely. I had other influences and other musical, um, you know, influences, and music was definitely, it captivated me at a very young age. And thankfully, my dad always had a nice stereo, and both my parents loved music, completely different realms of music, anything from disco to classic rock to easy listening pop, contemporary. And then my stepdad was a country music fan. So when my parents split and he was around, I was, listening to country. Real, whether I liked it or not, it's road trip. That's what we had to listen to in the car.
Yeah, it is interesting because it seems like you can vocally adapt to a bunch of different styles.
Yeah, I mean, it was something I was gonna be in the realm of it, some kind of career involving my voice, whether it was voice acting or singing or music or songwriting or teaching or something involving music and the voice. And thankfully, I was able to get out there and make a career of it, and I'm still finding a way to thrive in music and voice acting, and anything from Comic Cons to you know performing live with my band. And we're called Moonglass Band. So I have my own band now, book my own gigs, and I pretty much have my own business.
Right.
I wish I would have done it years ago, because I definitely knew that was my calling.
Mhm. And then I know, I guess would meeting Carl Finch lead you up to working in anime?
It was, yes. It was kind of more of working with him and recording vocals with his band Brave Combo, Grammy Award-winning polka band. We had a connection with the whole polka thing. Nadolny is Polish. My dad's side of the family is all started their families up in Rhode Island and ended up in Memphis, Tennessee, which is where my dad met my mom. And we're all born and raised in Memphis, Tennessee, which is a huge music capital. I mean, Nashville, Memphis, blues, all kinds of music immersed there. So yeah, but meeting Carl was a big deal because I was traveling with Vance and the Valiants, and we were opening up for the same other bands and for festivals and parties, and we were, based in the same Dallas-Fort Worth area. And when I started sitting in with the band for fun, Carl had some ideas. He had written some songs, and he had my voice in mind for some of them. Once we started working together, and then we went in the studio, and over a span of probably 4 or 5 years, we worked together on his original music, and we put together our own duo called The Cookies. And we actually haven't released the material at all. It's from 97 through about 2001. And we're about to find a way to get it up for the fans to hear. It's amazing original music. It's very, very cool. I wish we would have gotten something going with that. And we just kind of went different directions. But through working with him in the studio, I was introduced to some people who were into casting voice talent for Chuck E. Cheese, which is a kids restaurant, pizza restaurant. I don't know how far north it goes, but I was able to voice Helen the Hen for a short period of time. And then at one of those sessions, I met the producer of Dragon Ball Z, who I didn't even know, had no idea who he was or any of that. But he caught, I guess my voice caught his attention. He asked me, do you ever do voiceovers? I said, I do them for fun. I do character voices. I absolutely, sure. And so we exchanged information, and through the industry, he also knew Carl Finch and Great Combo, was a big, huge fan of that band. So when the auditions were set up in 1998, I showed up and auditioned, and no idea what I was auditioning for other than I had lines to read, and I auditioned for what appeared to be, the female characters, which seemed to be made the most sense to me. But while I was at the audition, I was asked to try a kid voice, a little boy voice. And so I just kind of threw something at them. I was kind of thrown off guard there, but they liked it. And so about a week later, I got the call that I had been cast as Gohan in Dragon Ball Z.
And was there any initial inspiration to base your performance off of Saffron Henderson?
No, in fact, they didn't give me any voice reference or any situation to mimic anything or anybody. Okay. We started fresh, and I just followed direction. And it's just a coincidence that Saffron had a similar background with singing and music, and she was a singer, and I think she even was a mimic to at some point. So in fact, I just met her recently for the first time in my whole life. Finally, I get to meet her at KamehamehaCon. It's KamehamehaCon 4 was in April. Was that April? And I was able to meet her and some of the other Canadian voice actors who voiced their characters in Canada, right, which is where the director Barry Watson was recording the show, and then remotely, and bringing all of the data down, and then they were putting it together down here in Dallas-Fort Worth. And so whenever I came in to audition, Funimation, little small company at the time, just recast the whole show. Mm-hmm. And we finished Dragon Ball Z. I was cast as East Kai. Oh, some of these other fun small roles, Baby Trunks. And then they picked up the property of Dragon Ball, and I was cast as Kid Goku. And that's kind of how all of that went down.
Well, going back to theme music for anime, I'm sure there's still a big following with Sayonara Bye Bye specifically.
Yeah, Yu Yu Hakusho. That was the first one I did, and that was actually with Carl Finch and Great Combo as well. Like, he was actually hired by Barry Watson to come in and assist with the English versions of anime themes.
Mhm.
That was the first one we worked on, and we also did the opening and closing to Kiddy Grade. I contributed my voice to another one from Case Closed. Indelible Sin is the name of that one. Those are a little bit hard to find because they were uploaded to YouTube at some point, but my name wasn't credited for whatever reason. But hopefully I can make a change with some of that. Because some of the fans really are really into that. And a lot of my fans of Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball, don't realize I'm a singer and that I started out singing as a child and doing mimic crazy voices for fun. So a lot of my fans don't realize. I mean, they might know it now through these interviews and through asking questions and panels at the Comic Cons and things like that. But yeah,
I have also found that people who had a pretty lengthy music experience took to anime dubbing a lot easier. Was that your experience too, you think?
absolutely. Not just taking direction and having worked in the studio with jingles and parodies and my own songs and production and things like that, and performing live also played a role. I mean, and having that sense of music timing as far as like matching the flaps, particularly with dubbing. My musical background made it easier for me to and much more efficient in the studio, because I could kind of like grab those lines, and if I didn't get it the first time, I would just know exactly what to do to time it out right. And a lot of times the director would leave the recording going, and we would do what we call a wild line or two after trying it the first time.
Mhm.
So my music background was instrumental in, but it's pun intended, actually, instrumental in aiding me with learning how to dub in English and just getting those dubs right with the timing.
Mhm. And this one, I don't, might be a while since someone has brought it up, but it's a pretty cool thing where you got this, it was like a show within a show, because you got to play the main boy and then sing the theme song for like a show that was within Fruits Basket.
There was that's interesting you brought that up, because I want to say that was a very short clip that I dubbed a singing line. I want to say it was in Fruits Basket, and there was a TV on in one of the scenes, and I believe I voiced it was something about Ari.
Yeah.
I remember doing that. I can't remember how the line went, but I do remember doing that.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Some more trivia there, right?
Yeah. And were you?
And I played a lot of background voices as well, like Walla background, villagers, babies crying, women screaming, old women, old men, even. I mean, whatever they threw at me, if they liked it, or they wanted me to give them an idea of what I think that character would sound like. A lot of times they would cast me as a smaller parts, German English teacher. I think I was, yeah. And then I was also Gohan's first date, Angela, when Gohan goes to school, right after the Cell Saga, when Gohan is the Great Salmon and starts that whole thing. So it's kind of funny to look back and see. I played all these little, smaller roles, but significantly different sounding voices. So it's kind of cool.
And throughout the entirety that you were playing Goku and Gohan, was there a single, like, what do you think the single darkest emotional headspace you had to go was?
Oh, probably for both characters, the more serious scenes, particularly Gohan. I mean, Gohan has some very deep, dark anguish over, watching his loved ones and friends get, beat up and defeated and things like that. So I think Gohan's, really I had to reach down deep into any and all acting chops, as well as through the voice, really trying to capture those deeply emotional scenes that were very serious. And of course, most of those were in Dragon Ball Z as opposed to Dragon Ball. I mean, Goku's much more lighthearted. He definitely has some scenes that are intense when he's fighting and he's trying to channel that power. But I think that Gohan in the Cell Saga was definitely the most challenging, vocal wise and acting wise, really getting into that character of all that he had been through up until then, and then really being able to exude that through the voice and the acting through the voice.
Mhm. Well, then of course with the Path to Power movie when he loses Android 8 or Aider.
Aider, yeah. Yeah, I love that one. I remember that one specifically. I really enjoyed dubbing that one. That was a lot of fun.
And then I know one of your other main roles was in Gravion.
Mm-hmm. Say with I remember very little of the dialogue because it was a very long time ago. If I'm not mistaken, that was almost 20 years ago when I actually was working on that one at ADV Vision down in Houston. So I just jumped in the car and drove down there and knocked out a session at the end of the day, spent the night at a hotel, and then did the morning session, and then I was on my way back to Dallas. So it was a long time ago. I don't know what's been uploaded to YouTube on that one. I would have to do some research to see what might be available as part of that. Maybe it's on DVD.
And was it true too that you had some aspiration to move to LA early on, kind of?
I did. I did consider it in my early 20s. I was considering more along the lines of moving to Nashville, being that I was from the state of Tennessee and I was going to pursue some pop country. I did make my way to Nashville a few times, but I didn't move there. I didn't actually physically relocate. And then I was told and advised by some very prominent, successful voice actors in LA who were guests alongside myself in some conventions, anime Comic-Cons in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And one of them was Steve Bloom and another one was Bob. I can't think of his name, but I think he was the voice of the newer Porky Pig.
Oh, Bergen.
That's him. Yeah. He was like, you need to move to LA. Like, you need to move to LA. You'll be working all the time, which was a very majorly awesome comment or compliment. And so, but I was working regularly in my show band, traveling, pretty much ended up making Dallas-Fort Worth my home since late high school. And what also generated my decision to stay put was I lost my mother at a young age, suddenly, of environmental leukemia complications. And I was actually just gotten cast as the role of Gohan around that time. I remember we were watching it on TV when she was fighting the disease, and she was going through her chemo and had lost all her hair and everything. But a lot of the reason I didn't relocate was I'd moved my whole life every 2 years. I think I lived in 12 different houses or apartments before I was even 16 years old. I didn't like that. That was very difficult growing up, moving, constantly being the new girl, trying to fit in, start all over. So once I did stay put, and then my mom passed, I wanted to stay close to what was left of my family, which was my brother. And then he proceeded to have 2 girls, and they're my nieces. And so it was such a heart-wrenching loss that I just could not bring myself to move to LA and start over again by my own choice. It just didn't feel right. So I stayed put in Dallas-Fort Worth, continued with my music and my singing and my songwriting and parodies, jingles, just, made my way, forged my way through the grief of all of the loss. And I'm still here. COVID was hard for everybody in lots of different ways, but for this line of work in particular, show business, it made it difficult I couldn't do my live performances or my Comic-Cons in person. So I had to, we all had to get creative on ways to find a way to make a living and fulfill some kind of livelihood. So yeah, but I was still able to, like I said, make a living, and I still have the same house I've been living in since 2000. And that's just where I'm at right now.
Yeah, that was kind of what inspired me to start pursuing interviews, because April of 2020 I virtually met Eric Vale on GalaxyCon, and I was like, I kind of realized that a lot of the voice actors that I personally liked, I hadn't seen them talk about roles that I liked him the most for in interviews. So I was like, I'm gonna try to do this without paying for it. And now
Yeah.
you're my 226 interview. So
Yay, good for you. That's awesome. I know Eric. I met Eric years ago when we were working on Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball GT.
yeah, right.
In that, and I was Goku as a boy again.
Who are you still closest with then from that whole Funimation group?
Um, we were like a tight knit little group back in the day. It was a smaller company. There was just one studio, one ADR director, one or two directors, maybe more like three or four directors, I guess. And then they just kind of switched out, and then the company grew, and we had Studio A, Studio B, and then finally Studio C. The company acquired more properties. I remember specifically Blue Gender, Fruits Basket, Yu Yu Hakusho. Those were definitely coming along all throughout my personal experiences working there on Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball, as well as Dragon Ball GT. And then back then we were wow. I mean, we were taking on more roles. The talent pool was much smaller. Definitely a lot of amazing talent here. It's extremely competitive, like even to this day now more than ever. So yeah, I mean, I remember the OG, they can call it the OG group, we stand not all of us. I mean, some of the cast had moved, have definitely moved away to various parts of the United States, LA, New York. Some have stayed put, some married, had families, and some are still very much there. Some of them have branched out to being directors and line directors and things like that. And I'm just now, after almost 14 years, finally kind of back in that realm to where I'm working a little bit on background roles for Crunchyroll. So, which was Funimation. And so, yeah, I'm kind of like back in that realm. I mean, I worked on a lot of music and did a lot of other things throughout the past decade. But I'm aware of some of them. I do see them online with the social media, and I appear at some of the Comic Cons alongside some of the voice actors that were there when I was there early on and that are still there. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we kind of cross paths here and there, and particularly some of the OG ladies, the original Bulma, Tiffany Bulmer, Linda Young, Frieza, Cynthia Krantz, Chi-Chi. That's kind of my main circle. I do a lot of events with them and book them alongside myself at some of the comic book stores in the various regions. And so we just, yeah, it's kind of like a reunion when we all get together, because we kind of feel like we were there when it all began, when Funimation was just this baby company, and it was kind of up and coming, and now it's just humongo, and people literally move to Dallas Fort Worth to audition and hopefully pursue a career there. And it's been very interesting.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know some of the last series that you got to work on that are really good, Hellgirl and Kanon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, and then like I said, I mean, I'm just kind of like got lost in the shuffle there a few years back. I got married and was wanting to be a mama and was trying to have a family, and unfortunately that didn't work out for me. But yeah, I'm back. I mean, I'm back in the scene, kind of dabbling in having my own, I have my own home studio now that where I can record and audition for various things. Really wanting to get my music up online for fans that seem to be interested in it. I do have some things. I have a website that's fairly new. It's just myname.com. A couple of Facebook pages, Instagram. Really having some fun with TikTok lately. That's still a little bit out of my range as far as how to make the videos. I've got somebody helping me with that right now, and that's been kind of fun to see how all that's panning out. It's great to have so many avenues to further my career and to be creative. There's just, especially not only in general with technology, but with COVID, all of us were forced to find ways to be creative with work, with communicating online with fans, friends, loved ones. And we were all having to find ways to record at home And that's awesome. That's great. I wish that I had access to all of that when I was younger, because I would have been all over YouTube. I would have been like recording and singing. I mean, I did it anyway, but as a kid, it had to be, you know, cassette tapes. And yeah, I mean, that's all we had. You know, there was no internet, there was no computer really. I mean, the computers we had were ginormous, and there was like one in our school, one or two in our school, and that was kind of it. But you know, sign of the times. We did what we could, the best we could. Star Search, we had Star Search. There were no singing competitions on TV. You know, there wasn't really. Now it just seems like every time I turn on the TV, there's a new, you know, talent contest of some kind. You know, yeah, it seems like it's everywhere. But that's pop culture. You know, we change with the times, and we adapt and grow and make it the best we can. We're only here for a vapor, you know.
Right.
When you get older, you'll know what I mean. You think a year is a long time, and then when you're 30 and 40, and it just flies by. Make the best of it.
So then, I did want to mention too. How did you become involved with OKKO?
Oh, that's a cool story. That's. I'm glad you mentioned that. That's because that was a whole different thing for me. Being that it wasn't an established anime that we were dubbing, it was actually an American, you know, Cartoon Network show that actually, before it was picked up and it became a show that was airing, the director actually sought me out and kind of tracked me down, being a Dragon Ball Z fan himself. And he had this concept of this show and all these characters, and he was able to track me down somehow. And, you know, his agent or the casting director reached out to me directly and said, hey, we'd like for you to be this character. His name is KO. It's not been picked up yet, but it's in the developmental stages. It's called Lakewood Plaza Turbo. So I was able to go into a studio in Dallas Fort Worth, and then they set everything up through an EIS. I can't think of what it's called, but they were able to record me in a studio in Dallas Fort Worth. I was able to contribute the voices to the pilot, and then they cast me as KO, changed the name of the show to OK KO, Let's Be Heroes. Cartoon Network picked it up, and I was thankfully able to fly out to LA a couple times and record the first 8 episodes along with the rest of the cast, which was a whole different experience. Recording without dubbing, there was nothing to dub. It was like maybe scratch pictures, you know, that were drawings of the character in kind of a developmental stage, but it was a really cool experience. I was blown away by being in LA at Cartoon Network. That it was just a dream of mine, really. I mean, you know, growing up watching cartoons, and then, you know, seeing Dragon Ball Z on Cartoon Network, and then, you know, traveling and seeing it on TV in all these other languages. And then here I was at Cartoon Network voicing this little kid voice, kind of a spin-off voice of Gohan. And it was a great experience. Unfortunately, I didn't relocate to LA, and they were able to, they decided they wanted to just go with a complete cast that was local. And this was, you know, this was several years back. It was quite a bit before COVID, and before, you know, there was that need to record remotely so much, or from home. So yeah, they recast me and I think another person that couldn't move or relocate. But it was a great experience, and I do have fans that come up and, you know, want autographs for that particular show as KO. So, and there was like even a video game that we made. I was able to voice KO in the video game, which became an app on the it was an app on the App Store. So that was a new experience for me as well. And then they just, you know, they drew around what we had recorded. So it was a completely different deal. And it wasn't an anime. It was a, you know, American show, USA kind of thing. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it.
How did you, because I'm listening to it, I mean, you can tell that it's you, but it's also different from Goku and Gohan. So how did you approach it vocally?
I asked the directors what they wanted, how they wanted it voiced, what pitch they wanted, what age was he, How much wrath did they want or foresee as their idea for the voice of KO? And through the acting, through the dialogue, and through the experience I'd had with, theater and musical theater, and my whole life I'd been doing plays and musicals as long as I can remember, with community theater, majored in drama in college, did a lot of talent shows, plays, produced a couple things in college, which was a great experience. So I utilized all of that acting experience to channel what the director was seeking for that role, and thankfully they liked it, and I voiced it as long as they needed me to. And I know that the voice is similar to Goku and Gohan, and that's fine, because the director was fine with that, being that he had sought me out for that role. So thankfully that worked out, and I just basically followed direction and listened very carefully to what the story was about and what they were expecting out of me. It was a very, very high pressure. It was fun, but it was a high pressure thing. I mean, when you're casting a show like that and you're working with kind of the best of the best in the industry, they expect the best out of you. And so it was showing up, being ready, in the zone, and then they want to rattle through those lines. And thankfully I had quite a bit of experience voicing characters. And so we were able to knock that stuff out with me being able to fly in a couple times.
Mm-hmm. So outside of what you've mentioned already, is there anything else that's upcoming that you're part of that you can talk about?
I was cast in a show called Takemake with an up and coming director. I don't know where he's located exactly, but we've done, I don't know, maybe 9 episodes. It's very much in the developmental stages. I'm not sure exactly where it's going to be or where anybody could actually see it, other than at some point it may be online. And that was kind of an interesting thing, because I actually got that through a website called Upwork, and it was very interesting. I mean, I got the role before the guy even really knew a lot of what I had done prior, so he was pleasantly surprised to see that I had been in the industry, and he was hoping that would help get the word out through social media for his project. The other things I'm working on is I'm working a lot of Comic-Cons. I'm booked pretty much every weekend from now to the end of 2022, and even some into 2023. I'm hoping to travel a little bit more overseas too, possibly Europe. It's really been something else that these iconic roles of Kid Goku and Kid Gohan ended up being so iconic, because it's funny to look back. I had no idea that these characters, this show, Japanese anime in general, was so overwhelmingly outrageously popular. And so as a result, I didn't realize there'd be a calling for me to show up and sign autographs, 2 decades later. So it's just been, I'm very blessed and very grateful that I'm able to find a way to, generate commerce and remain present in the industry by getting out there in front of the fans, which is my favorite part of what I do, by the way, is meeting the kiddos that grew up watching the show. They're watching it again with their kids. Hearing the feedback about how some of my work got kids through some hard times, through whether it be bullying at school, which I experienced myself. It's been a platform for me to reach out to people who have struggled with similar things that I've struggled with, not being able to be a mom, and going through grief and loss of a parent, passing away at a young age, and addiction issues, and just PTSD, stress, loss, grief, anxiety, mental health issues. It's been great, because I've been able to utilize this platform to reach out to others, and of all ages, mostly kids though. Kids, I have a big soft spot for kiddos, and I've been able to also work a little bit with children over this past year, teaching beginner piano and voice lessons, private voice lessons. And so that's something I've been dabbling in, which has been really fun, because it gets me out there in front of kids, and where I can be kind of a mentor and somebody's cheerleader, encouraging kids who want to pursue music or voice acting as a career.
Yeah.
So that's been very, very fulfilling.
Well, it does tie into my final question, is always asking, what do you want your legacy to be?
Legacy. Oh my gosh. Well, I'm trying to figure that out. And I think what what I'd hoped it was going to be was having a child or having kids and being a good mom. But when that option was removed, I'm still holding out for maybe in the future, maybe fostering or doing something. Like I said, working with children is something I want to do for a long time. I'd like for it to be an inspiring, kind soul that just a lover of people that I'd like to think that I have inspired and people, young people who, like I said, want to pursue voice acting, singing, musical theater, any kind of show business type career that I somehow could help inspire them. And I'm very big into anti-bullying, anti-racism, acceptance of all people from whatever walks of life. I grew up with very strong morals and the golden rule, treating other people with kindness. Also, would like to think that I could help pave the way and crusade for anti-bullying in general and at all ages, in all stages of life, because people can be bullied and looked down upon in any realm, really, in any kind of profession. I've seen it from as being a kid through high school, college, and even as an adult. I've seen a lot of bullying in my industry, backbiting, and I don't know, jealousy and stuff like it's just a very difficult thing to endure. And so my platform would be, kindness, acceptance, not judging others, and just being a good person. And I'd like to think that I, will continue to do that and inspire people of all ages to follow their dreams and don't limit yourself. Because I know I certainly did through various decisions I made, self-sabotage and just different things when I was trying to deal with the loss of my mother and, the loss of the family and things that I went through personally. So just being resilient and overcoming those things, I would like to think would help other people who are struggling with similar situations. And that can be a universal thing, any and all ages. Mm-hmm. So I hope that I'm remembered for being a good person. Yeah, more so than my talent. I would like to think that I did good things and continue to make good decisions that would therefore inspire others around me.
Well, thank you. I'm glad that we got to do this. Thanks.
Yes, me too. Thank you very much for your interest. I'm glad we met, and I wish you the best in your endeavors, and forge on, follow your path, follow your dreams. Share your gift. That's what we're here for.
Mm-hmm. I'll be sure to send it to you once I have it up as well.
Rock and roll. Hope you loved it.
Yeah, bye.